Hey guys, Martina here again, and welcome back to Coffee Time. Or should we call it Coffee Talk? I can't decide. You tell me which one you prefer. But at the beginning, as always, I just want to get something out of the way and tell you that I am not here to sell you. I'm not selling you anything. I started this YouTube channel to educate. I run my business on a side and I only do work in DFW area, so please remember I am here for you. And today, I want to talk about a subject that might surprise or anger some people. And the subject is why I wholeheartedly believe in string inverter system over microinverter system. Boom, drop the bomb. I said it. Please don't hate me. I hope that you will have the guts to watch this whole video and form your own opinion and share your thoughts with me at the end. I know microinverters have been ruling the market for a few years now in the USA, but I want to share with you my philosophy and why I would not want to install them on my own roof. Now, that does not mean that I don't sell them. I have to. Microinverters have been heavily marketed towards homeowners, directly towards them, to a point where the customer comes to you and tells you what they want, rather than come and ask a professional for an advice. So let's open that can of worms. When solar first started years and years and years ago, string inverters were the first. They were pioneered by companies like Fronius and SMA in the late 20th century. But then obviously, like with many products, shortcomings started showing up, especially shading, and how production was directly affected by it. So companies like Tigo or SolarEdge started coming up with a solution to help string and isolate the panels to help the shading issues, and they created what's called a power optimizer. That's a microinverter, by the way. So then eventually, microinverter was introduced, and they brought the whole DC to AC conversion into a device that is installed under the panel on top of the roof. The biggest issue for the well-known Christmas light effect, where if one panel is shaded, all the other panels on that same string follow suit and basically mimic the lowest power point, was the lack of bypass diodes in panels. Now you might ask, what is a bypass diode? Well, it's a diode that is used in case if one of the panels of a multi-string is faulty. So it basically bypasses that faulty panel by providing current and alternating path to flow, and thereby maintains that continuity of power production. Hence, Christmas light effect is BS. But that's a topic for another video. Panels have really come a long way, even with half-cut cell solutions that allow panels to work in half if shaded. But let's get back to why string over micro, etc. So string inverters have a much longer history, and also based on the global market, they are in much higher production than the microinverters. If you just look at the number of major players as far as string inverter goes and then compare it to how many major microinverter players there are, that's a huge difference. And I personally saw it firsthand at Intersolar in Munich. The biggest booths belong to Fronius, Growatt, Goodwe, Solace, SMA, SunGrow, and so on and so forth. Now, the US market is really what started the birth of panel-level devices. And you may ask why. Well, lobbying. Lobbying for panel-level devices and law for rapid shutdown. There has been a lot of talk that DC on the roof is not safe, that having a microinverter instead convert that DC to AC on the roof, it's much safer. They created a lot of fear, and when people are fearful, they follow, right? But the reality is that microinverters are super simple to install. You don't have to have a very smart designer and installer that will properly size the string of an inverter and install it properly. It really is just plug in and play. Whereas with a string inverter, you really need to properly size the string, so that just requires a little bit more work and thinking. So I feel like, this solution is just easier for installers. But here's a little fact. Microinverter outputs 208 to 240 volts. With string DC on the roof, the string usually will be below 600 volt. Well, that's a pretty big difference, you might say. But listen to this. Any voltage that's over 50 is sufficient enough to drive a potentially lethal current through the body. So whichever option you choose, if you have untrained people installing the system, it's going to be dangerous in both cases. But the whole saying, I don't want DC on my roof because it's not safe, it just doesn't make sense. Both options are 100% safe if installed right. But saying that DC on the roof is dangerous while saying AC isn't, that's just avoiding the truth. It's just a sales pitch to me to scare people into choosing the safer option. Regulations were put in place that requires now a panel level device or some sort of rapid shutdown device to be installed, which I think honestly is a great idea. Safety first. But you know how lobbying works. Competition is trying to either crush the competitor or just make it harder to compete. So I think that's how microinverters and optimizers really got that push to become that popular. Now, I don't say that it's all bad. Power optimizers are phenomenal devices. I highly recommend them as well. They're just not as complicated as a microinverter. But again, based on the world and where the world is going is storage. And with majority of new storage options, I would say 95 or more percent, those are central inverter options. Hybrids are also central/string inverters. Solar hybrid. HomeGrid is even coming out with a hybrid inverter. EG4 hybrid, SolarEdge hybrid, Fronius hybrid, SMA hybrid, and the list goes on and on and on. Even Tesla has a string inverter. Now, I really don't want to talk badly about microinverters. I really don't. Enphase is a really high quality product, and I really can't say negative things about this product today. It's more so the philosophy behind it that I just don't see the future of. Now, I have to be very honest with you here. I am talking from experience. I'll tell you a little story. But back in 2015, 2016, when we started in DFW area as a solar installer, we used microinverters by a German brand, Keiko. Company is still in business and doing actually very well. I think they were even bought by someone now. But they created the ultraverted solution, a microinverter solution, a really good product. So you might ask what happened, right? Well, they decided to pull out of the residential market in the USA and sold their technology to a bigger microinverter company. That Keiko microinverter, I personally installed maybe 10 homes back in 2016, and that inverter was under 25-year warranty. So everything would be great, but the problem is that there's no technical support from the manufacturer now. So if and when I have one microinverter fail, and even though I have actually plenty left in stock, I'm unable to replace them because there is no way of commissioning that microinverter to communicate with the rest of them. So what do? Well, I have to remove all the panels and replace the microinverter system with a string inverter option paired with power optimizers, and then reinstall the system. All my cost. I have a warranty with my clients, so I don't have any other option than to cover the cost of this myself. Now, thank God it's only 10 systems and they don't all break at once. I already replaced about 4 out of 10 with my own money, but just so you can imagine the cost of this, like including the labor to remove, the equipment, the optimizers, the string inverter, it's anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000 per system. Yeah, let that sink in. So now imagine I have 200 of those, or even worse, let's say I have 2,000 of those systems. I'm going out of business and my clients are left to themselves. So yes, I got really burned by microinverters. So me and my dad, we just started talking about what other options would be more reliable, not just today, but in 15, 18, 20 years. And even if the manufacturer of that particular product goes out of business. So let's say if a string inverter breaks in 12 years and a manufacturer is no longer existing, well, I can simply buy any string inverter on the market at the ground level, replace it. I don't have to get up on the roof, remove all the panels, and do all that extra work. So my cost is much, much cheaper if I just need to replace a string inverter, right? So number one, I prefer string inverter. Man, we just got to number one, okay? I prefer a string inverter because if the manufacturer goes out of business, it will not kill me as fast as an option with 20 plus inverters being on top of the roof. All right, I have to take a sip, y'all, because I need some coffee. By the way, someone recommended some really good green tea and I already ordered it, so hopefully next video I'll be drinking green tea. All right, so let's go to reason number 2. I hope you're still here, by the way. This might be a very messy video, but stick with me here. I'm open to discussion. I really am. So another reason is the fact that we are placing the most important part of the system, I even like to call it the heart of the system, on top of the roof, and we're exposing it to extreme heat, especially in Texas. And what different weather condition, moisture. I mean, what happens if you literally put your phone outside in the sun in the summer heat for 15 minutes? It tells you to cool it down before you can even start working it. So I just can't imagine how a small electronic device can survive 25 years in those extreme weather conditions. I mean, can it? Like, do you actually believe it will? 25 years is 1/4 of a century, guys. And not to mention the exclusions in the 25-year warranty, which I have a video planned for that too, reviewing major brands' warranty sheets, because nobody reads them. You don't read them. I'll read them for you. But yeah, most people will sell a microinverter solution as a solution for the Christmas lights effect. If one panel stops working, then the rest doesn't. It isolates them. Well, so does the bypass diode already in the panel, and so does the power optimizer. So now how easy, aka expensive, is it to fix one string inverter at the bottom level, ground level, versus sending someone up on the roof to remove a panel and replace the microinverter? Now, God forbid your installer didn't do the layout properly and actually doesn't have the correct map. Now the installer has to actually look for that panel that is not working, and hopefully it will not be the last one that he pulls up. But I think you get my point. It's just much easier to fix something at the ground level than it is to get up there on the roof. Okay, so reason number 2, to me and my dad deciding on what solution will be safest for our customers was a product that can be easily accessed in the garage, not up on the roof. And we really like to be prepared. I mean, my dad, when he started passing on this business to me, he said we have to find a solution that will keep our customers happy and will keep us in business so that my kids in the future can take that business over after me. And sure, it would be much, much easier to sell Enphase or a microinverter solution. I mean, if you get 5 quotes, I bet you 4 out of 5, if not 5 out of 5, will have a microinverter system. I know my opinion is very unpopular. Even this morning, I watched a video of why microinverters are better. But see, nobody thinks of the future. It's very easy to sell this attractive product right now, but it's very hard to think long term. So looking at worst case scenarios, if manufacturer of the inverter is out of business, it'll be much easier for us to use a central inverter. And then my dad also said, God forbid, we are out of business. What will the homeowner have to deal with at this point? So you could hire an electrician, buy any string inverter, and have the faulty one replaced in less than 1, maybe 2 hours of labor work. Or you can hire someone to remove and replace the whole system with a new inverter system. So yes, if for some reason I would be out of business, my preferred solution is a string inverter because I can say that we provided the least problematic solution to our clients. Third reason, compatibility. Salespeople all talk about how easy it is to expand a microinverter system. But is it though? The problem becomes compatibility. A string is a string. It actually is very, very simple. Most inverters have a max string voltage of 600, right? So if you just do easy math based on panels voltage, you can add 1 or 2 panels. You can essentially even mix panels and you'll be fine. Or you can create another string. It's a plug and play. Of course, if you want to add more, like 4 or 5 kilowatts, you will have to add an extra inverter just to avoid clipping. Now, what if you want to add 2 or 3 panels to a microinverter system installed a few years ago? Well, are the micros from 5 years ago compatible with the newest generation microinverters? And honestly, you answer that question, but I have a customer right now who has a 5 kilowatt microinverter system and he wanted to expand it by adding a few kilowatts. So what we had to do is create a whole separate microinverter system with new combiner box because unfortunately, those older microinverters are no longer compatible with the newest one. So that's not always going to be the case, right? If you just installed your system, it's just been a few months, obviously it's not going to be that difficult, but you have to do the research for yourself and you have to decide for yourself as well. So this whole sales point really is pointless. With either option, it might be a little bit more complicated, but tell me if I'm wrong. Like if you just want to add a few panels to an existing system, will it be easier to plug a few panels to a central inverter system or to add a few panels to a microinverter system? Down there in the comments. It's your turn. Tell me, please. I'm so open to your feedback. I'm fully aware that my thinking is very rare and most people in America have a totally different opinion, but enlighten me if I'm wrong. And I am not being sarcastic here, I promise. So, I honestly think that the whole DC to AC conversion happening at the top of the roof isn't totally bad. I'm just more worried about the future of it. And the biggest microinverter guy in town, Enphase, is a very, very solid brand. They have a very good product now. But I am just more worried about the future since everyone, and literally everyone, is throwing 25-year warranty like there is no tomorrow. And like I told you, I do install microinverters, but Enphase is truly the one and only micro I would ever install. And I had to replace a different brand microinverter in the past for a customer that passed on my offer. I'm not mad. But yes, so I had a customer, he didn't go solar with me, but then he called for help saying his microinverter, and again, it was an Enphase, were turning off midday due to overheating. So he then had to spend about $17,000 on me removing the panels, replacing the inverters, adding power optimizers, and fixing the system. Ever since that happened, I think that was a few months ago. Yeah, it was around March, no more issues. So, fifth reason is the amount of points of failure. And this is kind of a pro and a con because a lot of people actually use this. But, well, if the inverter is down or like one string is down, you may say that majority of the system is down. But then if you have 30 inverters, you have 30 possible points of failure, right? So you tell me your thoughts on this one. I've heard both schools. I am more on this side. I have 1 point of failure. It's much easier to fix one than to look for multiple. So, and like I said, I do install microinverters. I keep saying that, but I do try to limit my microinverter installations to about 10 or 20% of my overall sales, just to keep myself alive for as long as possible so I can sleep better at night. And yes, a string inverter manufacturer can go out of business too. I'm well aware. But which one can kill me or put me belly up sooner? Okay, I honestly trust more the company that has been in business 40 plus years and their product actually lived through their warranty, rather than hoping that my 25-year microinverter warranty will be in effect if microinverters haven't even lived that long yet. So like M190, Enphase, one of the first microinverters, is it even still in production? Like what happens if you need one? So I definitely don't want to talk here like which system will generate more power, which one is better. That's a topic for another video or even a test. But yes, it could be possible that the microinverter will generate a few percent more. And I'm guessing here, again, don't quote me. But if your system will be dead in 10 years, is that few percent more per year worth it in the long term? You see, I was always actually worried about talking about this on the internet, but this year I got some courage just seeing how much storage is advancing and how it's going towards the older and proven technology of central/string inverters. I mean, if you installed Enphase or a different string panel system, whatever, please don't take this video personally. The solar industry in USA was taught to sell you that product specifically, and even maybe you yourself read articles why microinverters are better than string, because you know they never really compare string with optimizers towards microinverters, only just string and micros. Well, nevertheless, another subject, another day. But I just learned by my own experience, and trust me, I really got burned, so that's why I just wanted to share that with you today. Hey, make sure to leave some comments down below. Let me know your honest opinion. Was I able to actually change your mind? You know, I was always told by my parents that you never stop learning. So let me know. Write it down in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. It's cold. Coffee's cold. Oh.